why was he so offended by Dorian?
He really was.
Yes.
And he responds to Dorian like this.
Yes. Shows he's still competitive.
Yeah, that's the part about it. Can you imagine?
It's all mental, man. Not only you have to beat yourself, and you have to beat everyone else.
When you look at these two, what do you notice from the 90s to today?
It's just a completely different animal when you try to compare the two.
You and Phil, do you see a lot of commonality with him as well?
In the middle of conversation, he disappears.
You thought Phil was a shy guy.
Yes.
Then I got a crazy question for you. Who did you think in 18 should have won Mr. Olympia?
I won't say that exactly.
You're away from your wife for 2 years. For $400,000? I don't think so.
We know it's about making money. It's a business. Will they trust it is the question.
They say, you go to Kuwait because Kuwait has the best drugs. You hear that all the time.
Yeah, that's not really true.
Would you like to see a full lineup next year, 2020, of Phil, Kai, Rami, even Roden, everybody to be there?
I know I'm dangerous no matter who comes back.
Do you think you can beat these guys? So today I have a special guest. Obviously, about a month ago, I interviewed Dorian Yates, and after we interviewed Dorian Yates, Dorian made some comments and we were going back and forth, but I said, look, if we got to do it this way, we have to figure out a way to get the current Mr. Olympia 2019, meaning the most latest champion who also won Arnold Classic 2019. And he's got an incredible insight on what's happening today in Mr. Olympia, obviously with the training that he has in Kuwait and what he did with oxygen and all these. We got a lot of things to cover here today, but it's my distinct pleasure to introduce to you the 2019 Mr. Olympia, Brandon Curry. Brandon, thanks for coming out.
Hey, it's a pleasure, man. A pleasure to be here, definitely.
It's good to have you here. And one of the things I got to tell you, you just had a birthday. You're October 19th.
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
So you're 37 now.
Yes, sir.
And I'm October 18th. So we're a day apart.
Wow.
Yeah, so I turned 41, you turned 37.
Well, happy related to you.
Yeah, we're somehow, some way connected based on our month we're born,
Yes,
day we're born.
Exactly.
And you know, extreme studies have been done to prove that October babies are the best human beings in the world. I don't know if you would agree with that or not.
I will. I never read those studies, but I can agree with you on that.
I've never read them as well, but I would like to believe they exist. Okay, so let's get right into it. You know, a couple things when I look at your personality and I see how you are, and you know, you go a little bit into your story and you're watching yourself and some of the transitions you've made from who you were to where you are today. You seem more reserved than a lot of the competitors out there. You kind of seem to yourself, you kind of seem quiet, you kind of seem the guy that's even a possible introvert. Would you categorize yourself as somebody that is an introvert or no?
I'm not a complete introvert, but I can play one very well.
Which one are you more though? Are you more
let's
comfortable
see.
kind of being like if we were...
I typically weigh the scene out, and that kind of dictates where I go as far as being introverted or extroverted. The more comfortable I am with people, the more extroverted, of course, I become. But the situation is pretty much dictates. But I like to observe and watch, like the people watch a lot. So that's probably what keeps me, you know, quiet, because I'm thinking to myself, I'm analyzing things.
So you're observant is what you are.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay. So if we were in high school together, who was Brandon Curry? If we were in high school together.
If high school, Brandon Curry was the the cool guy that, you know, was pretty much friends with everybody, no matter what side of the tracks they may have been from, all groups of people. I was a pretty good athlete. I really wanted to ascribe to be a great athlete, and I like to be a leader in that sense as well. So on the field, I was very vocal, aggressive.
Oh, you were.
And I like to set the stage, you know, as far as with the example more than anything, because I believe that you know people feed off your energy, and that's one of the things I loved about the weight room as well. In high school, back in the weight room. It's another thing. Guys wasn't serious about training, but I was serious about training, and that seriousness made other guys in the gym serious about training, and that kind of changed the dynamic of the weight room as well as the team dynamic as well. So, you know, it's for me, In high school, I was a good student as well because my parents required that of me. But school was easy for me as well, so it wasn't like,
School was easy for you?
Yeah, it was easy. It was easy for me. My dad told me the other day. He said, "I never see Brandon study for anything," and he was talking to someone else. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I didn't study a lot. My mom was always on me about applying myself because she said I didn't do over the expected. I just did enough to be cool with it and not stress over it. So, and I always work good under pressure as well. A lot of my best projects, a lot of my best work was kind of that last minute, putting it all together, grinding.
So were you the athlete? Was there an element of you where you were hung out with the tough guys, the bad guys, the athletes, the 4.0 GPAs, or were you the one that pretty much got along with everybody?
I got along with everybody.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. And what was your favorite subject in high school?
One of the favorite subjects I think was geometry.
Geometry?
Yeah, it was geometry. Everybody hated my geometry teacher. She was an older Italian lady. I mean, everybody hated her, except me. And I don't know why I liked her, but I liked her class, and geometry was something I just kind of picked up naturally. Was kind of good at it. She liked me for it. And my wife was also in her class. Was also a class favorite of hers back in the day as well. So.
So your wife was also in the class with her?
Well, yeah, in a different class than I was, but in the same class as the same teacher. And,
why geometry, though? I mean, did you like the theorems, the CPCTC? What stuff?
Maybe I'm just more visual, I guess. That was one of my
So
favorite
you like
subjects.
proving theorems and going through them and what's given and what's not?
I don't know why it connected to me that much, but I just remember that being a standout subject. I was in a business program at the school. I think it was called MBA or whatever it was called. And I was also pretty good at accounting, but I had no interest in it. Accounting classes as well. So my teacher was always encouraging me, you should do this, you should do that, you should do that. But I didn't have an interest in seeing myself in that environment as an accountant would be on a day to day. So even though I picked up on it really well, it just wasn't something I was interested in.
If I was your best friend, who did I say, Brandon's going to grow up to be X, Y, Z? Was there something that people said Brandon's going to grow up to be this, or was it unknown?
Well, in high school, my wife told me I should grow up to be a bodybuilder.
She said that in high school?
In high school, yeah. So after she saw me, I turned a backflip. I think we were at Arpy Lane Hotel doing the Christmas lighting. And I turned a backflip somewhere, and she saw my shirt go over my head and it lift up, and she looked at me, she said, you should be a bodybuilder when you grow up. Of course, at the time, I looked at her and I said, I don't want to be on stage in a Speedo and have oil all over me, I had no interest. But I think it was a year later that I'd actually competed in my first bodybuilding contest, and I won the overall, won middleweight.
With no plans?
Well, yeah, with no real plans. I mean, I prepared for that show generally 4 weeks out. I only did it because a personal trainer he kept bugging me about it. He kept asking me, do I want to compete? You should compete, you compete. And I was just like, no, I didn't want to. But I got to thinking about it, I guess, one night after you asked me. I said, I'm in the gym, I'm not playing college football anymore. I might as well do something with my time, maybe it's just something I can have some motivation to come in here and push harder. So he gave me my diet, showed me how to pose, and before you know it, I was on stage, not worried about my posing trunks, but just trying to figure out how to present myself the best I could on stage. And I was, like I said, I won the novice, the middleweight, and the overall class, and that just hooked me.
Is that this one, or this is a different one? Is it?
That was that one.
This was the one. This was the first one.
Yeah, that was that one. Yeah, I think I was like 19 years old.
19 years old when you won it.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think about when you see this yourself now? 19-year-old Brandon Curry.
Man, my perception of myself was much greater than it would be today. Like, I had superior confidence in myself. Like, I thought I was way more than I was. I even had forums back in the day that would attest to that on places.
You were very confident here.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
very confident.
Really?
Yeah, very confident.
But were you generally a pretty confident guy?
I think I was generally confident in most areas. Like, but I was also, dealing with high school, you also worry about how people would look at you and analyze you, of course, growing up. But I think generally, in most of my cases, I was very, very confident, especially if it was something that I knew I could grasp or excel at.
Was mom and dad very much about affirmations to you? Brandon, you can do anything you want to do when you grow up. Were they tough? Was it constantly feeding positivity into you?
I think my dad was more of a perfectionist, and he didn't encourage me to be my best and pursue, but he never directed me in any way, fashion. He just kind of let me do as I chose. And he worked all the time, so he worked very, very hard. And I saw my dad as a very, very talented person with a lot of abilities, very good people person, people skills, good leader, good at management. But I think he kind of sold himself short with what he pursued. I was working for somebody. And I felt like he was the type of person that could really, really excel. And a lot of people like my dad would follow my dad anywhere. He could excel on his own. He didn't need to be some company man. And my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom most of my life. And I say she was hard on me, but she probably needed to be, because I was a very, very hyperactive child. Yeah.
You were a hyperactive
child?
Yeah,
very hyperactive.
Were you shy? Were you ever shy? Were you ever perceived as being shy, or no?
I don't think I was ever perceived as being shy. From the stories I hear, I don't think I was ever perceived. I ran into, at my party, I had a birthday party recently, and one of the guys I remember back as a childhood his name is Ken White. He worked with my dad. First big guy I ever really seen in public. And these stories I remember because my dad tells me all the time. But he's like, he comes up to me and I see him, and I go, "Hey, Willie!" I called him Willie for whatever reason.
He called you Willie, or you called him Willie?
I called him Willie.
Got it.
And this is like, one of the most muscular guys I've ever seen. He showed me some pictures of him. He's still powerlifting to this day. And he's, in the Masters, and he's incredible. But he's the first big guy I've seen, and I'm just thinking, I seen this big guy, and first thing I called him out of his name. I don't know him. And I must have been an interesting child. They diagnosed me with, they didn't have ADD, but hyperactivity. They wanted to medicate me as a kid. My parents didn't agree with that. They just felt I should be more active, so they got me into gymnastics as a kid, so to kind of help with my energy levels. Because apparently, my mom tells me, I have 3 sons. She said I was all 3 of them. So she said it's payback. I was all 3 of them. And I was just, I don't know.
I like that.
I was high energy, always having to do something outside all the time. I was a very, very active kid. I had 2 sisters, younger sisters, and I could only play with them so much before I was in trouble. So I learned to separate myself, because my games that we played and I organized would always end up being some kind of traumatic, crying, emotional.
Are you very creative? Is your brain do you go creative imagination? Do you like Marvel? Do you like, certain movies that it's all about creativity?
I think I'm more probably more creative internally than actually. I don't necessarily embrace Marvel. I'm not a comic book guy. I admire those things, but I don't really embrace those things. But when it came to creating activities during dead times or games, I would always be able to entertain myself and entertain others, entertain themselves. They would say I cheat a lot. They said I would always change the rules. And I see my sons now. One of my sons is marvelous, and he playing with his little brother. He does that too. And I think my oldest son, Maximus, I can catch him doing it too. So I can see where that, during these games, you kind of play the rule to get the advantage that you can over whoever you're playing with.
Which one's the one that's got the physique that took the phone away and made that video? Because his back is legit.
Marvelous is my middle son,
okay.
And he's the most into the bodybuilding. Well, I say he's the one that started to be the most into the body. Now my oldest son and my youngest son are kind of zoned into it a little bit more than they were. But he was the one. We could find Polaroids. His sister got a camera for one of her birthdays, and we got Polaroids we found in the house. This guy, he's maybe 3 years old, maybe, him and his brother, and he's getting his brother, his 2-year-old brother or whatever, to take pictures of him, and they're posing. And he got these little Polaroids.
Wow.
And I still got them to this day because they're so cute.
That's crazy, yeah.
So he's always been like that. He's always been the one to pose it. Of course, his little brother is following him and posing with him, but he's the one, and he's the one that he wanted to. I went to Dexter Jackson's show. He wanted to pose on stage. You know, I wasn't there to guest pose. I was just there to make an appearance, say hi. He's like, he wanted to be on stage, and he's so serious about it. After we got off, he looked at me. He said, "Dad, you think I won?" And I said, "Son, that wasn't a competition, it was an exhibition. Nobody won."
So he thought it's a competition.
Yes.
So that's a sign of admiration towards their father, by the way. I mean, they're looking at you saying, you know, I want to be like Daddy when I grow up. You know, it's not when you see that the kid has really got a lot of respect for their pops. Now, in high school, just out of curiosity, what was your GPA in high school?
I was pretty close to probably 3.7, 3.8. I'm pretty close to 4.0.
3.7, 3.8?
Pretty close, pretty close. I'm pretty close to that. I made very, very good grades. Rarely did I make a C or anything like that. So,
if you didn't go the bodybuilding route and there was no interest there, who would have Brandon Curry be today at 37?
It'd be interesting. It had to be something I'd be very interested and passionate about. My mom was of the, she said I could have been an engineer. You know, she said, you know, I could have been an architect. You know, she says all these things, but, you know, I'm one of those people that if I don't have purpose in something, it's not gonna drive me. You know, I like to pursue something that I know or I feel that, you know, is my niche to pursue, and then I go after it. But if it's not the case, then I'm not that. I may not be that interested.
Makes sense. In the personality category, if you look at, there's the extremely organized folks who you go into the closet, black, 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 gray, 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 white, white, blue, blue, purple, purple, everything's organized, socks, shoes. That's the organized folks. Obsessive, everything's very, like, they know everything's at. Clean, crystal clean. The T is very technical, analytical, numbers, detailed data. I'm missing this part in the triceps. This is not strong. I won't see it with my eyeball. You'll notice, and yeah, we're off over here. We got to cut this part up. We got to get the days out, the diet proper. Everything's detailed. The action is the super competitive, comes into a room, steals the show. Everybody knows he entered the room. She entered the room is the A. And then you have the relationship, which is all about, hey man, I love you, friendship, bonding, harmony, all of that stuff. Where would you put your lead?
I was trying to relate to one of those, but I don't know if I can. I'm not very obsessive compulsive, but when I do organize, even though it's a mess, I know where everything is. It's like me being gone a long time and training and come back home. I put everything where I know. So I come home and I'm not at home in my own home because my wife and my kids have moved everything around, and I haven't been there at habit to put it where I normally would. But it's not necessarily like this conscious organizational thing for me. It's just I have placements. I maybe plan something to be somewhere convenient when I need it at all times. So maybe I don't know if that's obsessive compulsive, but that's how I organize. I don't have to be the guy when I walk into a room that, you know, everybody has to know I'm in there. I kind of like to not be seen, more or less. A lot of people, like,
I can see that.
My wife walks with me and she's like, you know, look at this person looking at you, look at this person looking at you, and I'm like, man, I must be like a horse with blinders on because I don't really notice people analyzing me. Now I may analyze people, but I don't notice always people analyzing me in the room. And I'm not really on the number type person either, you know, exacts, and I don't analyze my physique with like the OCD scrutiny as well. I know where I'm lacking, I know where I can improve, but I'm not the person that's looking in the mirror every day. Like I have people that message me and ask for advice, and I'm like, these guys drive themselves crazy because they'll send me pictures and they're always obsessing over this and this little thing and how's this? I'm like, oh my goodness, you know. I mean, you take this stuff way more seriously than you should. It's like you're wasting time with stressing over everything when you could when you don't need to. I mean, it's not your job; it's just your hobby, you know. So I look at those guys, and those guys interest me too. So I don't know where I fit, to be honest. I don't know where I fit. You can tell me, maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, just from reading the interviews and reading a lot about you and seeing what your wife says about you and where you're at, you know, I think your wife said something about the fact that I know my husband, I know his strengths, and I know where his areas of improvements are. If he's home, he has to drop off the kids in the morning. He has to be at the practices. He has to be around the family. seems like family is very important to you, and
Of
you're a
course.
relationship guy. So, maybe you're on the relationship side where somebody who takes a liking into you, even a guy that recruited you to go to Kuwait, if you know the person has the good intentions for you and you trust them, then you're willing to go out there and be loyal to them. So maybe your first is R, I don't know, but I think there's an analytical side as well. You and Phil, do you see a lot of commonality with him as well, personnel? Because he's also the 3.7 GPA, but he went to Colorado State. He was going to be an accountant. That's the direction he was going in. Seems like both you guys are, he was an athlete. He went basketball. I think you went football. There's some similarities as well in your personalities.
There is some similarities, but I only notice the differences. I've met Phil before Phil was the big Phil Heath. I remember flipping through the magazines in 2006, NPC magazine, of course, and just now getting into bodybuilding, I'm seeing this Phil Heath guy, and he's got this great physique, and of course he's young, and everybody's talking about him. I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, wow, timing. This guy is coming out right before me. Goodness gracious. And not only that, but I had a forum name or an emo name that I'd made maybe the year before. It's called Brandon's Gifted. And they start calling him the Gift. And it was like, goodness gracious. And he took something that I nicknamed, I was like, man, he took that too. So, had a spotlight on. So I'm thinking, man, I'm making, the whole time I'm thinking, I just got to catch up to this guy, right? So I get on the national level finally, and I'm seen, and everybody takes notice. One of the people to take notice was his coach, Honey Rambaugh. Mm-hmm. So I work with Honey, and of course, I guess he saw the talent. So I'm thinking, now I'm working with Phil Heath's coach. I was like, man, this is like not even a year ago. I'm looking at him in the magazines, admiring his physique and his success. So then I get to meet him, and Phil has a persona, of course, to the public. A lot of people have opinions, but I meet a shy guy,
You're a shy guy compared to him?
I met a shy guy.
You met a shy guy?
Yeah.
You thought Phil was a shy guy?
Yes. When I met him, I met a shy guy. I met a kind of like a shy guy. I mean, I understand the dynamic. A lot of people see him today, but when I met Phil, I think I met Phil first in Hawaii. And I was my wife now. I was out there to help her for a contest. He was guest posing at the event. It was me, Bob Chicarello, Sean Ray there. They introduced me to Phil Heath, and we're standing there, and I'm like, "Hey, it's Phil Heath. I mean, it's cool, But in the middle of conversation, he disappears, and I'm thinking, where did he go? Like, where did he go? And everybody's like, where did he go? It's like he was kind of shy. And then, of course, when he performed, he was guest posing and everything. He came, posed by me, and did his thing. He's performing. But then I got an opportunity to see him on several occasions. He's always seemed like he was a little bit shy to me. I don't know why. And then in my room at the Nationals, when I worked with Honey, he came in my room. He's preparing for his pro debut. The biggest he'd ever been. He was like, stepped on my scale in the room, he was 270. And Honey was like, take your shirt off, show him what you got. And he's like, no, I can't take my shirt off in front of this guy. And I'm thinking, freaking Phil Heath, 270 pounds. I know I'm getting ready for a contest, but I'm not nothing like that. So I always perceived him as this shy guy, and that I was kind of, we always had camaraderie and friendly, and I respected him, a lot. I mean, I respect him a lot. I understand the struggle, what it must be like to be the first social media Olympia champion. I mean, that's a lot of learning that you have to do, trial and error, because nobody had ever done it. Mm. And of course, he made some mistakes, and people criticize him for it. But I can't say that I would have handled it any better. I've learned from him what not to do, in a sense. But I respect the guy a lot, but I've always felt like I've been chasing him, and even to this day, I'm the champ. But I go on record, I still want to compete head to head against him.
You do want to compete head to head against him?
I do, I do. So. I mean, I've always wanted to, but I wanted to be ready. And thinking about it last year, thinking he was going to be in Olympia this year, I was trying to get him to just tell me he was going to be in Olympia at the Arnold, because that would have just put me on fire for the Olympia, but it didn't really happen. So he recently showed his abdominals, and I went on record and said, if Phil shows his abdominals, then then I'll take him seriously about potentially competing. So now I'm processing this, and I see him show his abdominals, thinking maybe he hurt me, and I'm like, okay. So now I'm preparing myself to compete against Phil, regardless if he comes to the stage or not. But for me, it's a good thing.
It's a good thing he did show up or didn't show up?
No, it's a good thing that he showed his midsection, because now I'm in the mindset that he's competing, or he's planning to compete, and preferably against me. So.
You mean 2020?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good thing for me.
So who else would you like to see be in it? Because, you know, and I like the approach you took and what you said, because you know how sometimes, are you a basketball guy? You're a sports guy?
Well, you know what? Since I stopped playing college football, I'm not really a sports guy anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Zero. So just your game.
Just my game.
I don't know if you remember when the Rockets won the 2 championships. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when the Rockets won the 2 championships?
Yeah, the Rockets.
It was in 2 years when Jordan was gone. Mm-hmm. He was retired. He stepped away from the game. Mm-hmm. And Barkley, Ewing, Malone, Stockton, Olajuwon, all these guys are like, let's go get a couple right now. Mm-hmm. And it was a dogfight. Reggie Miller, everybody wanted to get the ring because Mike is out, right? So those 2 years, Olajuwon picks up 2 of them, Houston Rockets, right? And then Jordan comes back the next year, and then he wins 3 more in a row. Mm-hmm. What you just said, if I'm reading into it, because in the boxing world, sometimes you got Mayweather would get heat because he never faced off against Pacquiao at his prime, and he would, You're saying you want to go up against these guys to see if you got the goodies to compete against them. Is that what you're saying
exactly,
for 2020?
Exactly. I respect Phil, and I think he's got a crazy physique, and it's nothing that I wanted to see more than to be compared to him in real life, in real time, on stage, bringing my best. And I know if anybody's capable of helping me bring a better or a best, it'd be Phil, because I looked up to him from all this point. It's like me chasing Dexter Jackson. Finally chased down Dexter Jackson. I was chasing him for years. But, now that I've beaten him, it's like, man, it's crazy. Now I need something else to chase. So, yeah, I guess I'm still hungry.
So are you kind of campaigning for these guys, would you like to see a full lineup next year, 2020, of Phil, Kai, Rami, all the big, even Roden, everybody to be there?
Of course, man, of course. Of course I'd like to see it. I think everybody like to see it. I mean, the bodybuilding community would like to see it. I would like to see it as a fan of bodybuilding, and as a competitive person, I'd like to see it.
Then I got a crazy question for you. Mm-hmm. So this is, obviously this is 2018, mm-hmm. right? Roden beats Phil Heath, mm-hmm. okay? I was in Vegas when this happened, and I spoke to Phil, and I had a conversation for a couple hours together. And we look at this, and you read a lot of news afterwards, and you're saying, well, that was really Phil. Phil should have won it. How could Roden win with no triceps? He didn't have any triceps. Is it possible to win without triceps? Well, maybe yes, because there's been other people in the past that have won without biceps, so what's the big deal? Who did you think in 18 should have won Mr. Olympia?
Sean.
Oh, really?
Why?
Midsection?
Not just midsection. He won it mentally.
Oh, he won it mentally?
Yeah, he did.
Elaborate.
He won it mentally. You could see it. Like, I was there competitively. Phil was at I was watching Phil the whole time, analyzing him, and he was just trying to prove he had improved where people were criticizing his midsection, and that was really his focus. We noticed that Phil he came a little bit downsized from the year before, and as things played out, I just sensed Phil was laboring and working way harder than he should have been.
Interesting perspective.
On stage. It was just like not the typical polished Phil that I don't know what he was struggling with, but I've seen Dexter Jackson do that at the Arnold that year as well. And but I seen Phil doing it, and he was just struggling and holding poses, everything, and just really in presentation. In that point, Sean took advantage of that and kind of like embarrassed him. You wouldn't be able to see that by pictures. Pictures don't tell you that story.
You're talking about the part where he stands up and he pauses and he looks.
Well, it was just that's one of the major examples. Yeah. But it was happening during the whole comparison rounds. Phil laboring, Phil getting into poses slow. Sean just basically showing more stage polish than him, and showing that he mentally was I guess ready for the title at that point. Yeah, I know Sean has holes in his physiques, but you know none of us are perfect. But I think when it came to him being judged and compared to Phil, the judges saw that interaction on stage. They saw that dynamic, and they saw Phil kind of his confidence fade.
And you can judge the champion on that?
It's all mental, man.
But what I'm saying is the judgment part.
Yeah, well, the judgment
part.
What's going on in your head, I think, can reflect to what the judges see of you on stage. I think it's just like that. It's kind of that telepathic kind of communication that we know exists, but we don't fully understand.
You against competitors, you against the
judges, everything.
Okay.
Because the judges are my mirror. If I'm on stage, the judges are my mirror.
Let me ask you: when you're posing, are you looking at them or you're looking at the audience?
I'm doing a little bit of both.
Oh, so you could be looking at the judges as well.
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of both.
Why are you looking at the judges?
If I need to understand what's going on stage that I don't see, I'm looking at the judges.
Huh.
If I want the feedback, if I wanted to know if I got the edge, if I want to know, am I favored, I'm looking at the judges. They're telling me everything I need to know. If the judges are ignoring me, which I've been on stage and that's happened before, that's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. If they're not into it, if I don't see them, analyzing things properly, if I'm not seeing any emotional expressions on anybody's face at any point in time, when I feel like I'm giving something, then I may be a little worried.
Do you feel that? Do you feel that on stage, that they're not even looking at you?
Oh, yeah, you know.
You feel that?
You know.
Okay, so for him, he had the physique to win it. So you're not saying he didn't have the physique to win it?
I think, Phil has a lot of weapons. A lot of weapons that you would say would any weaknesses he have that would overshadow. And his conditioning was good too. It wasn't as he's in bad condition. A lot of people say that, but it's kind of like what I understood about Ronnie's ring. You come in, you have an issue. They say, okay, we'll let you have that, but listen, you're gonna have to correct this if you want to win another title. And I kind of feel like Phil was in the same predicament. That's why he was so, look, even backstage, like my midsection's good, trying to confirm that with everybody, media, everybody looking. But I don't think once he got on stage, the posing conditioning he was in, his ability to control, to hold it, I don't think that told the proper story. And that's what he was being criticized on. He's being judged against himself.
So what you are saying, though, I just want to restate this, is that his physique, not mental. You could tell Sean was confident. Mm-hmm. There's no question about it. But his physique beat Roden's physique.
I won't say that exactly.
You won't say his physique beat Roden's physique?
I won't say that exactly because it's the bodybuilding game is interesting.
Are you friends with Roden?
I am friends with Roden.
Okay. Are you friends with Phil Heath as good as friends with yours?
I'm friends with both of these guys.
Okay. So both of them know what you're talking about.
Yeah, both. Okay. It's a combination of things because when bodybuilding, they judge you against yourself. So everybody's critical of me. My first Olympia, I win. Oh, yeah. I'm not 100%. I'm not best condition I could be. Well, that's a compliment to me because all I got to do is improve upon myself, for next year, and I'm going to be even more dangerous.
Sure.
And say if I came in, this great champion in the beginning with perfection as they would see it, then where do I go from there? If I'm there already, where do I go from there? If I can win a title and I'm not there already, then it makes me more dangerous than if I win a title and I'm, so to speak, there already and I fall off.
If the desire matters, yes, right. Of course.
And if I fall off, if I'm not even, I leave room to be beaten because the bodybuilding is almost about beating yourself as much as it is beating the competitors. Because not only do you have to, when it's a champion, not only you have to beat yourself and you have to beat everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's this unsaid thing in bodybuilding that Sean, he beat his last appearance, clearly. He killed it because he placed fifth that year, right? The year before. Phil, he didn't improve. He didn't improve from the previous
Did he
year.
need to, though, to beat Roden? Because, it's because Like, think about it in the NBA or in sports where they would say, well, sometimes Michael's the same as he was last year. Because of that, let's give the MVP to somebody else. LeBron's the same as he was last year. Because of that, let's give the MVP to somebody else. But LeBron's still the same this year as last year, still better than everybody else, which means even if Phil comes at the same level as he was last year, it's still better than everybody else on the stage.
He wasn't at the same level.
You don't agree with that statement?
No, he wasn't at the same level.
Okay, so if that's the case, now let's go to the next part. Roden. This is, for me, I'm not in your world. And I told this to Phil and I told this to Dorian Yates, and we got a lot of other Mr. Olympia folks that are coming on here. I think, I don't know who else we have scheduled. I think Ronnie's coming. Ronnie's coming soon. We got a few other that are coming soon. For me, I look at the brand from the outside. I come from the 90s era when I followed by. I was in the Army, I had everybody's posters on the wall. I know you and I said we kind of both come from the 90s side. And I remember when Ronnie placed, I think, 15th one year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's got a sick physique. I mean, this guy, if he, the next phase, if he changes it, he can definitely win the whole thing, right? And I remember El Sombati, I remember Paul Dillette. You had all these guys that were there. And it was hot, it was competitive. It was something we all bought. Muscle Mag, Muscle Media 2000, Flex, all those magazines, you're in the world. And then all of a sudden, similar for me why I'm not turned on by boxing anymore is a similar thing that happened with Mr. Olympia. And I'm going to state this, and as a current Mr. Olympia, I'm curious to know what you're going to be saying. I asked a similar question from Dorian and Phil as well, is sometimes when politics gets involved, in a sport, it turns people off. And it goes away from the love of the game to who really won this boxing match? Who won it? Did De La Hoya win it or the other guy win it? Did Canelo win it or Triple G win it? Did Mayweather win it or what is going on over here, right, when you're looking at these fights? What do you think about the decision the Mr. Olympia brand made to tell Sean you cannot compete in 2019, even though it's in trial, they don't know any of the information yet? Do you think that's the right decision to make?
For me, from his perspective, no. From a business perspective, that's a hard one. Because, as a business, as a brand, whatever happens with this is it's going to reflect on you at some point. You either deal with that situation ahead of time or you deal with it later. It's one or the other. So I think they just chose to deal with it ahead of time before anything was possibly out to, cause, they just wanted to kill it before it got started, which I can understand. For Sean, of course, I think he should have got the benefit of the doubt, and they should have, been patient enough to allow him to go through, the trial and whatnot, because until then he's innocent, and everybody's been even mine. And I know Sean personally, and I just don't see him being guilty, in my opinion. I don't know all the details, but just my personal opinion. So, as a business, it's a different story. I don't know how they made a decision, but they moved swiftly and made it. They said they consulted other industries.
They said they consulted other industries.
Yeah,
of course, because obviously
football
like
and
Antonio Brown, and you got some of these. I get it. Okay,
they said they did that. And
did they say it to you guys publicly?
Well, that's what the public. I guess the public. I don't know who said that. I think maybe it's Bob Ciccarello or someone who made that statement, or maybe it was in Dan who made that statement.
Yeah.
But that was the consensus, that they consulted other outside of themselves, and that's the conclusion they came to. Which, if that's what they did, that's smart of them. Whether I agree with the decision or not, that's what they probably should have did. Consult someone outside to see if what
have they made a public statement, or has somebody else come out and said, yeah, here's who we contacted and here's what we consulted? Because and the reason why I'm asking this is the following reason. Are you a movie guy? Do you watch movies?
I watch movies. I don't have a movie memory.
Okay. So there was once a movie done with Warrior. It was called Warrior. I want to say it had Tom Hardy in it. It had Nick Nolte in it. And I don't know if you know this movie where it's like the MMA fight, and guy's gonna put $5 million to see who's the baddest fighter out there, right? And it's in Jersey, I think it's in Atlantic City, and the champions end up being the two brothers fighting for $5 million. It's a movie, right? Okay. What's this movie have to do with my question? Here's my question. The champion today, when you win, they pay you what, $400,000? I think that's the number, which is the salary of a president. So you get paid the same salary as President Trump does, is what they pay you, $400,000 from Mr. Olympia. I think it's underpaid, okay? I've been on the record multiple times saying they have to be, Mr. Olympia brand's got to do a couple things. One of the things they got to do is they got to say, listen, our guys use PED, steroids. It's out there. It's no longer the hush-hush, and quite frankly, what pot used to be back in the 90s, or even back in the 90s. Smoking weed was like, oh my God, that guy's a drug addict, that guy's this, that guy's that. Look at today. You know, I'm not one that consumes it. I'm not a fan of it. I like to stay fresh, and I don't want to have my mind being consumed. But guess what? As somebody that politically thinks that to each is his own, you want to use it, go for it. If it affects your body, great. Just don't affect my body and my family. I think if Mr. Olympia came out and said, look, our athletes use, they choose, here's what they're doing. The second thing is the money. If they don't make the price bigger, the purse bigger for somebody like you agreeing to be away from your wife and kids for 2 years, where you're not even seeing them, but once you're going to Brazil, you fly out to Nashville, you see them for 24 hours, and then you're going out to Brazil, and even though you were there, you still found a way to take your kids to school because it matters to you. You're away from your wife for your 2 years. I mean, professional athletes that do what they do, they go home to their family, maybe they're on a road trip for like 7 days, 9 days. You're missing out for 2 years to be in Kuwait, maybe being able to prepare yourself to have your dream become a reality. For $400,000, I don't think so. This is my opinion. I could be full of it. People could say, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Forget about it. Fine. What happens if I'm sitting here saying, you know what, Brandon? I got an idea. Here's what I'm doing. I'm willing to fund Mr. whatever we call it next year, competing against Mr. Olympia during the same weekend as Mr. Olympia. And to compete, you have to agree you cannot compete in Mr. Olympia, is what we're saying. Except our purses, first place is $1.5 million. Second place is $1 million. Third place is $500,000, and it goes from there, okay? Do you think that will create motivation for competitors to say, holy moly, look at the purse here. Maybe I want to go fight in a place like this to get the platform. Or do you think that wouldn't change anything with the competitors saying, no, I'm good, I'll still go to Mr. Olympia? It's a technical question.
It depends on you know, how much the competitors have followed the history of bodybuilding. I mean, the IFBB, of course, has been challenged by some powerful entities. Vince McMahon was one of them, and he did that. He pulled some bodybuilders away, paid them more money.
Platts, some of those guys,
right, to compete on his stage, and, you know, and a lot of guys went. They made a lot of money, but it just didn't last. It didn't have the foundation that the IFBB had. So, you know, it was a scare at first. So it depends on whether those guys really are going to believe it, or they're going to be made to believe it, if it's going to be believable. Because I don't think.
What does that mean, though? What does that mean, believable?
That means whoever's going to present this opportunity has got to have all their duckies in line to ensure that these athletes are going to be secure and believe in what they say.
Meaning the money?
The money,
say
the
it's
opportunity.
most credible. I'm talking. Say it's the most credible source of money that you know is there. Let's just say it's 100% credible. Pick the biggest celebrity today in the marketplace who's got the most followers, and everybody respects and trusts this person, and they're in shape. They want to put it together. Pick that person. Everyone knows it's legit.
Right.
And that's the purse. Does it change the game?
It does change the game.
Okay.
It does change the game for a lot of people. I think it does, but will they trust it is the question.
Trust what? The money?
Or trust the opportunity. Will they be comfortable enough to say, okay, I'm going to leave this security, what I know, and try something new? That, because we know it's about making money. It's a business.
Especially to put your body through. You put your body through a lot of stuff.
Not only for us, but whoever this entity is.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So if this entity is not able to make the money that they want, the return that they make off this investment that they put in, then they're not, no matter how much they love what they're going to do, they're not going to continue to invest in it as a business person. So we have to look at it from that end of the spectrum. If they make the return on their investment, they spending all this money.
Yeah.
They have to be able to continue to do this in order for it to continue. And that's the question that the athletes are going to have to really ask.
So, we just looked at an office space this morning. It's a big office space, beautiful office space. Obviously, we have nearly 30,000 square feet of office space here. We have our employees that work here. We have all this stuff that goes on over here. We need a bigger office space. 7:45 in the morning, we went and looked at this space. 2.5 times big as this. We would either buy this entire building or, be a different structure that we put together. So I go and I look through the office space. I'm like, wow, it's a pretty sick office space. Modernized. It was built in '99, rebuilt and customized in 2015, et cetera, et cetera. And the company that did it was a very well-known magazine company in '99. Very, okay? Now in '99, what do you and I do? We buy magazines. You go into the car, magazines. You go into a house, magazine, bathroom, magazines. Everywhere we go, we buy magazines. And you and I both know what happened to print. It's gone digital, it's gone away. We're no longer buying magazines like we once used to, right? Okay. So some of the companies that adapted, they're around competing. Those who are not, they're getting killed, crushed, right? Okay. I feel what happened to the printing business due to digital is happening to Mr. Olympia brand because of social media, okay? Some may agree, some may not agree. So it tells me as a businessman, entrepreneur, investor, as somebody that looks at everything with investments, is this a good investment for me to make 10 years from now? I feel what made Mr. Olympia brand unique was a love of the game with the guy at the top, okay? There was a storyteller. There was a fascination. He would look at you with the stories I would hear. It's like, oh my gosh, Brandon, look at you. What you look like is absolutely incredible, right? They were fascinated by the physique. Joe Eater, you obviously know who I'm talking about. Okay. The love of the car Ferrari, for a guy like me to buy Ferraris, is because of Enzo. Enzo would sit there and watch Niki Lauda, or he would watch these guys race non-stop. So when Ferrari went public a couple years ago and they started coming out with this California car, $200,000 car, some of the enthusiasts says, I don't know if Enzo would have done this. I don't know if it's the direction they're going. Do you think the brand is losing a little bit of the love of the game that Joe Weider had many, many years ago when he started it? Or do you think it's just a different story today?
I think it has lost it a little bit when that turnover happened. But I think, the industry's been able to pick up a little bit more ground since. And I think that we should give these new promoters in these positions, especially Dan. Dan is a big fan of the Weeders. He's followed them. He's made a movie about the story.
That's important.
So he understands he has a really love for the sport. Yeah. He wants to see it grow, and I think he should be given the opportunity to, he had his first year, which was a very successful year for the Olympia. A lot of people didn't think it was going to be a successful year for the Olympia, but when we walked out and looked at that crowd on Saturday night, we got off stage and that's what everybody was talking about. That's what we were all talking about. We're like, man, this place is packed out. So we were very, very impressed by the production, what they were able to produce with their first year. So I think if we give these guys the opportunity to do even more, which I know they're planning and they're organizing to this day. Now, we say
there's doubt in the marketplace.
Well, they're on it now, planning for the next year.
Hopefully, yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
I know those guys are, and some of the guys he has on his team are quite tenacious in business as well. I would like to give them the opportunity to actually see, what they're going to be able to produce, what they're going to be able to improve upon, because they're new. It's a new opportunity. These guys, they're coming from a different place. They obviously have passion for the sport. They desire to change things. They know it needs to be changed, and I think there's a little pressure on them to do that as well, coming from other areas. So I like to give these guys an opportunity to do that before we talk about whether the Olympia is on this downward spiral like we've been talking about two years ago or so.
So, I try to put myself in your shoes and their shoes as well, right? And there's these statistics. There's one of them that we pulled up. I did a video on it. 88% of Fortune 500 companies from 1950 are not around. 88% are not around. That's a crazy statistic. Why does it happen? You don't innovate, you get cocky, you think you're going to be around forever. Oh, we're always going to be this great. This is my opinion. I think they mistreated Phil Heath. I think there was a different approach to take with Phil Heath. Here's a guy that sets aside his desire to have kids and do all of that stuff, and he goes and commits to his career to want to build it because he wants to be a 9-time, you know, Ronnie being an 8-time. He's trying to be a 9-time, maybe the first time that's a 10-time guy to win. And, you know, hey, great, here's what happens. All the best. Hopefully you come back next year. This guy won 7, you know, times. You just kind of treat him as a regular Mr. Olympia. He won 7 times. So he sacrificed the desire to have a kid. You know what it is to have kids. It's a lot of responsibility, and sometimes your kids get sick, you get sick, that sets you back 2 weeks, and you know what it is when you're hugging your kid and he drools on you, you don't know how you got a flu, you're feeling under the weather, the next you're trying to work out, you don't feel the full 100% strength. That's a risk you're taking to have kids when you're bodybuilding. Okay. Then I see you, and I see you become Mr. Olympia, and you're a good citizen, everyone likes you, you're a class act, everybody says nothing but good things about you as a human being. You're a great citizen to Mr. Olympia. If Mr. Olympia is watching this, which some tells me they're going to be watching this, okay, if they are, this would be my game if I'm them. And you don't have to comment on this. I'm just going to say this, and you can say agree, disagree, or say nothing. Okay. You can do whatever you want to do with it. Okay. Say I'm somebody of influence, and I have money and have influence, have the right contacts. You say, Pat, I want to be your right-hand guy. I tell you, this is what you got to do. You say, Pat, I'm willing to do it. I said, Brandon, it's going to take you 5 years to become who you want to be. Pat, I want to be that. No problem. You go pay the price to be my right-hand guy. It is my responsibility to do whatever I can to have your dreams become a reality. So what does that mean? You got my contacts. My investors are your investors. What deals you want to do? Let's do them together. You want to start something? Go for it. Hey, you want to go do a cameo in a movie? You want to be in a show? You want to do this? No. My contacts are here. I can get you. You want to write a book? I'll introduce you to Simon & Schuster. You want to go out there and do this part? I got my contacts, will take care of you. My attorneys, my accountants are yours, right? I think Mr. Olympia today has the following opportunity to come through and see what they can do for you. Because if they come through and give you what you want, whatever those things may be, and turn you into a rock star in a marketplace to the limits that you're willing to sacrifice where it doesn't affect your preparation for 2020, Mr. Olympia, I think that if I'm in the marketplace and saying, dang, they take care of their first place like that, I want to be that. I don't think they did that with Phil Heath. I think they just kind of had Phil Heath win. Oh, okay, we'll see you again next year. Oh, again, we'll see you next year. Oh, again, we'll see you next year. So that is my biggest concern. Because if I'm sitting there on a property that if on a company that somebody who builds it does it the right way, they can sell it for $600 million. But the way I'm running it right now, I can only sell it for $150 million. I'm better off selling it to somebody for $200 million and leaving it up to him to sell it for $600 million. That's the point I'm trying to make. I would, if I was Mr. Olympia and I'm not willing to do the part to promote the hell out of it, to get it to the next level, maybe I'm going to bring a guy that's in the bodybuilding world and who loves exercising. Pick some of the guys in Hollywood, whoever's at the top. Pick Rock, 100-some million followers. Sell them 51% of Mr. Olympia. Work some kind of a joint venture. Have them come and run the brand. I guarantee you Mr. Olympia is going to go to a whole different level if a guy like that's promoting it at the top. I guarantee you people out of the woodworks will come to want to compete to be Mr. Olympia, because if they do, guess what? Rock's going to get you in another movie that he's doing and you'll get a couple lines. And hey, now you got endorsements. Now you got this stuff. There was a benefit of playing with Chris Paul. You played with Chris Paul, you're doing a State Farm commercial. How many of his teammates did State Farm commercials? All these other guys. So what do you think about that?
Well, that looks good. That looks good. That sounds great, you know.
Would you like to see Mr. O go in that direction?
You know, of course. But some of that, I believe, is to our responsibility. As an individual, as a bodybuilder myself, how I present myself to the public, the opportunities I choose to accept, the ones I choose not to.
You think Weider helped Arnold?
Of course. Of course he helped him.
What I mean is like, hey, I partied with these guys last week. I want you to meet Arnold, and I want you to put him in a movie. You think Weider did those things?
But he helped him, but he also hand-selected him. And he was preferably groomed for what they wanted to sell, wanted to promote.
How much of it do you think is on the athlete? How much of it do you think is on the brand to lift up the players?
I think as a business, it's a 50-50 situation.
Okay, I'm with that. I agree with that. Some sports trying to go into different countries to play, to pull the other audience for you, and it just kind of makes your contract more, because if the league gets bigger, that means you're getting a bigger payday. So if Roger Goodell, who wants a $50 million a year salary, but he signed a $10-20 billion contract with the TV, and everybody that owned an NFL team, their net worth just went up 50%, he's doing his part as a league. That's the question. That's the part I'm saying, that the guys at the top at Mr. Olympia got to do something for me to say, I want to go compete in Mr. O.
Well, you know, they have an advantage over us.
Who's they?
The league itself.
Mr. Olympia?
Exactly. Why? Well, the advantage is they know, as athletes, we're in the sport because we love it. We love it.
Exactly. Maybe even other sports, by the way. Maybe even more than other sports, because it's the pain is actual side effects. There could be actual side effects long term with bones, with, you know, like football concussions. You guys got some stuff. Like, look what happened right now with Flex Wheeler. Mm-hmm. You know, there is some stuff that you may pay a price 10, 15, 20 years from now. So if you're willing to put your body through that, I got to protect you. That's just my thoughts.
That's a good place to be. And these discussions matter. They're important because things don't change without them, right?
I hope they're having it, man. That's all I'm asking. I hope they're having it. So to go past this topic here, so you would like to see a full lineup 2020. So if Phil is watching this, Kai is watching this, if all these guys are watching it, you would like to see a full lineup next year to see how it's going to turn out.
Everybody would like to see a full lineup. I would be motivated out of my mind if I knew I was going to be up against a full lineup. That would set my preparation off for 2020. Me and my coach, we got a lot to prove, man. A lot of people are talking, and we love it. It motivates us to get better, and that's what this sport is all about, is getting better. So with that opportunity, I'm gonna try to get better regardless. But you know, certain things fire you up, and that's just one of those things as an athlete that will fire me up.
I look at your deal, man. I look at your physique. Like, again, like when I show this to Dorian, I'm like, dude, this is crazy to me. But if all of these guys come back to want to compete, all of them, what do you're technical, I don't see it from your lens. I'm not looking at it from your lens. How much more can you improve to beat these guys next year, though? Because
well, let's put it this way. I'm honest with this. My conditioning was better earlier this year at the Arnold. I did have a little bit more size for this show. Me bringing the conditioning that I have for the Arnold, which is one show, prepping for one show. I'm always, it's always easier to prep for one show than
that's right.
Than multiple shows, especially if the shows, let's say I have to start all over again with my preparation again. If the shows are close, it's like you just kind of stay in range. But once you have to prep, shut it down, start all over again, the body may act a little different, a little resistant. That's why so few people have won the Arnold and the Olympia in the same year. It's just harder to do.
That's why there's respect, though,
right.
to do that.
It's just harder to do. So I just know if this one show coming into Olympia, conditioning will not be the factor. I'll be super crisp, super
You're
fresh.
not doing Arnold this year?
No, I'm not doing Arnold.
Okay.
So I'll be super fresh.
Got it.
You know, my body will not be stressed from any other competitions, and I'll be ready, definitely ready to go. And with the improvements I've been making from year to year, I'm kind of in the prime, what they call a prime right now. The improvements are, for me, I feel are inevitable. As long as I keep working hard, putting my work in, the improvements in quality are inevitable. Mass, quality, everything is inevitable. Because I'm right in the meat of where we say this bodybuilding sweet spot is.
Exactly.
So you know what I'm saying? I know I'm dangerous no matter who comes back. These guys, they gotta come back at their best, and you know that's not easy.
So if they come at their best and you come at your best, I'm talking no Arnold Classic. You're not Phil's not gonna do Arnold Classic if he comes back. If he comes back, and all these guys come back with no Arnold Classic, hypothetically. Do you think you can beat these guys and win it again next year, 2020? Because that's a big one. Mr. Olympia 2020 will be remembered.
I would not desire this if I didn't think I could win.
Okay, all right.
I just don't want to do this just for participation, ribbon. I want the challenge. I want the respect, and I want the responsibility.
I respect that a lot.
Doing it, you know, that's what I want.
I respect that a lot. I know you went from 2011, you were 8th, 17 you were 8th, 18 you were 5th, and in 19 you were 1st. And you went up against William, Chopin, Dexter. Dexter, 4th place at 49 years old. To me, it's just insane to look like that at 49 years old. And I used to follow this guy 20 years ago. Like, you know, so let's get to our buddy's question here. Now, one of the things I'd want to spend some time on is a little bit of Kuwait before we wrap it up. But comparing, you know, the whole thing about you get this in sports, which is like, we know our era of bodybuilders. we're better than your era of bodybuilders, right? I mean, it's normal. Sometimes it's pride for the older generation to say, you know, I think we are at a better place than yours. But, you know, you look at this, and Dorian, I respect him a lot, but when you look at these two, what do you notice from the 90s to today? I mean, this is obviously where you were competing versus when these guys were competing. What's the biggest difference?
Well, the biggest difference from what you see today is today you'll see literally every photo from a show, unedited, raw. Back then, every photo you saw was out of a magazine, chosen, edited.
That's a very good point.
You know what I mean?
That's a very good
point.
point.
For marketing purposes.
Yeah, very good point.
So you can't really, social media has changed the game on how you can even compare the two, to be honest. And photography is way different. You know, they didn't have high definition cameras and, you know, 4K and all that kind of stuff back in the day. You know, they even the way they lit the stages were different. It's just a completely different animal when you try to compare the two. But I'm just happy Dorian could be critiquing me. That's an opportunity. It's a champion like him critiquing me. That's just mad respect, and it shows me exactly why he won so many championships. Shows he's still competitive.
Yeah, that's the part about him. Can you imagine? So I want to play this to you, what he said. Obviously, you've seen this. I want to play this to you, and then I want to read your response. And I'm curious to know what you're going to say when, you know, what you're thinking when you hear him talk about this. Here's what he said.
We're at Mr Olympia this last Monday you went.
How did you feel about the whole contest? I mean, obviously Brandon Curry won. What did you think about Brandon Curry as a physique, as a winner?
Well, I mean, I respect all the guys up there. They're all doing their best. But if I'm to be honest, and that's pretty much normally what I am, I feel the standard of the Mr Olympia is not what it used to be. The whole thing's diversified. You've got all these different categories and classes and everything, but the Mr Olympia, the pure bodybuilding itself, you had 3 guys there that, you know, I guess they were pretty close. There was 2 guys in what I would say pretty good shape. You know, they were in good shape, but they're quite small.
Who were the 2 guys?
Yeah, William Bonac.
Okay, second place.
And a guy from Iran.
Hadid Chopin.
Yeah, couldn't pronounce his name. Very good and in good shape, but they're smaller guys. They're smaller guys, and so Brandon won it, I believe, because he got more stature. He's bigger. He looks more like a Mr Olympia, but he wasn't in incredible shape. So I think it was probably one of the weaker Mr Olympias that we've seen.
What do you look at when you look at this? I'm curious, like your eyes.
Yeah.
Where does it go first, and then where does it go? Because when I look, you know, the average person looks at it, it's like, oh my gosh, this guy's a beast. What do you look at?
Well, he's got very good fullness, good roundness to the muscles, and no really noticeable weak points in that pose. But he's lacking deep separation and conditioning that used to be the norm in the Mr Olympia.
The conditioning part.
Yeah, the conditioning is,
and that was
is
a big
what's
difference
lacking
between
these days.
you and Kevin Levrone as well. Would you agree with that? Where some of the times he would show up pretty full,
Yeah,
but he wasn't.
yeah.
As,
Kevin
so
had a great physique,
right?
but he wasn't consistent.
You know, at that time, you know, best maybe 6th place, whatever. And then your response that came out, and I read, I'm like the classiest response you could have given, right? I'm reading this, it says, so in a nutshell, it's Dorian being Dorian. Nobody did it harder, stricter, and as hardcore as Dorian. We got one legendary video to prove it. He can have that. I'll just inarguably give it to him. He needs that, it's his legacy. So of course bodybuilders didn't work as hard as he did. Hell yeah, we may rely more on technology or PED. So this makes his way and his era better. Simple as that. You know why? He says so. And some others would agree with them. We know his way made him a champion, and some may say the most badass, hardest working blue collar and grain bodybuilder that's ever lived. He can have that, but this guy right here, referring to himself, is completely different, and I'm totally cool with it. I got to watch a video just the other day that put Dorian's 1993 versus 2019 Brandon head to head, and for pose. I love the comparison, and I'm happy to be just who I am as well. I'm sure he can attest to how not winning your first Mr. Olympia at 100% on a vacated title makes you more dangerous if you do improve and continue. But your trainer had a completely different, by the way, this is pure class. Like, you can do a class on how to respond to your competitors. When I read this, I'm like, Brandon could run for office, man, the way he responded, right? But your trainer took a different approach. I don't know if you read his approach.
I didn't read it, but I know my trainer.
Yes, Abdul Alotabi says, continue smoking that shit you're smoking, waiting for your response. Oh, never mind, you're irrelevant. That's what he says, your trainer. Now, what are your thoughts the first time you saw this and you hear him saying that?
Well, just like I thought, man, that's just so Dorian, right? That's so expected of him. You know, I've seen several interviews with Dorian. It's pretty much the same narrative, no matter who won. He just had a certain way of doing things. He believed in that. He marketed it. It worked for him, and you know, everything else is not good enough, and that's fine. I mean, that's cool. It doesn't really bother me. I can look at my physique. I can look at the comparisons, and like I said, I'm really happy with what I can bring. I'm very impressed. I was very impressed by Dorian and what he was able to do. I mean, I respect that guy tremendously. The mindset he had to have. So I don't really expect much different from a champion as competitive as him.
Got it. So that to you was normal. When you heard it, you're like, yeah, it makes sense. He would say something like that.
Exactly.
But you know what's crazy? Like one of the things that you guys both also have in common. Here's the thing that I noticed that both of you guys have in common. I asked him a question. I said, what was the advantage that he had over his competitors? He says, I trained in UK, right? Away from everybody. Because when you hear there's a party, all this stuff that's going on, and you would get caught up in it, right? And you made a similar move 2 years ago, where you and your wife are like, babe, here's what I gotta do. If I wanna win, I gotta go do something. And then he came and he recruited you, and you decided to go to Kuwait and train at the gym called Oxygen in a temperature of 118 degrees, dry, it's not humid, and an all-male gym. This is not like a gym you go to, Gold's, where you got men and women and you got ladies doing squats and deadlifts and you're trying to distract yourself with 50 mirrors and somehow, some way, you can't miss the butt or whatever they're doing and you're getting distracted. We're men, so we see how that happens. What are the benefits you had of going to Kuwait and how did that impact your victory in 2019?
All right, first benefit, having a coach that is 100% on my side, believes in me 100%.
It's very obvious.
Yeah, he's 100% in my corner, man. He's my little brother technically. He always calls me. He always says he's bigger than me or older than me, but he's my little brother. But he's just tenacious, man, and having that behind you, somebody that supports you in that way, and you're on the same page, you know, you can really just accomplish a whole lot, almost pretty much anything. Being in Oxygen Gym, where Bodybuilder has laid out an incredible place for an atmosphere for bodybuilding. Machines, equipment, everything's picked by him. He's fully invested in what he does. You know, he's even asked my opinion on this and that. And I know his passion for it is crazy, and that's why he's so successful at what he does. And I just feel honored that, you know, he could have me be a part of that. And I just want to be able to represent that brand to the best of my abilities as well, because I mean he don't have to go out his way to provide me this opportunity, and he doesn't have to support bodybuilding as an industry as he does by bringing some just this new flavor to bodybuilding, I would say. And then in the Middle East, he's created this whole new excitement for the sport as well, and all over the Middle East. So everybody's trying to step their game up in the Middle East because of him. Trying to compete. So, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the convenience of the gym, I live right beside the gym. He has a flat for me right there. I come down the stairs, the elevator, not the stairs, the elevator. I walk, just right next door. Going to the gym is right there. Restaurant's there. I can eat what I want. Got a meal sponsor, Eat Smart. They send me my meals every day. All I got to do is text them if I have any changes. I mean, I go in there, I could train. My free time, I can just rest. I can focus on what I need to do to recover.
What do you do when you rest?
I either take naps. I can catch up with my family. I can do some research. Any form of entertainment I can watch. I can just, even my coach, you know, he picks me up. Let's go eat somewhere. Go eat at health food restaurants, Oxford restaurant, or cheap meal, whatever it may be. You know, I'm one of those people. I guess you could say I don't need to be stimulated at all times.
You don't need to be.
I don't need to be. I guess I grew up, you know, I grew up with two sisters, but I say it's more like an only child in some forms because I had to stay away from my sisters, partly because I know I would get in trouble if I spent too much time with them because they'd be crying. We'd be playing the game and they, you know, something happened. So I spent a lot of time to myself, and I got used to that growing up as the only boy. So me being in this confined area, spending time to myself, all this kind of stuff, it's not a problem for me to be there to focus on what I need to do. Plus, at the back of my mind, it's like I got this opportunity to be away from my family, right? I'm spending all this time away. Why am I going to be here and wasting my time? Like, I need to give this all I got. I need to make sure I am trying to be 100% on every single day, because if I come back and I don't produce what I need to produce,
Brandy's gonna say, what happened?
I'm gonna feel like I'm a complete failure.
You are.
Yeah, I'm gonna feel like I'm a complete.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, you're not giving these opportunities just to let them, just to not value them.
Brandon,
you know
what's his incentive? What's their incentive to do this? I mean, what is it?
I mean, they love the sport. They want to. I mean, they want to represent and show their muscles, so to speak, what they know, what they understand. As a coach, he wants to be the best in the world, best coach in the world. You know, who got him into bodybuilding? Why was he so offended by Dorian? Because that's the guy who got him to pay attention to bodybuilding. He saw Dorian. Dorian was his favorite bodybuilder when
He really was.
Yes.
And he responds to Dorian like this.
Yes.
Wow.
Because Dorian got him into the sport. Dorian got him interested in competing.
And he still responds to Dorian like this?
Hey, because he is tenacious, competitive. This guy,
Psycho competitor.
tenacious.
How is he with you? Does he talk shit to you? How does he drive you? You know when psychologically he's messing with you like certain coaches do?
Nah, he don't play any tricks. I've had those tricks played on me. They don't work. It's like almost like yin and yang. He's fast. I'm more slow. You know, I'm more calm. He's more upbeat. I slow him down. He speeds me up. It's more of that dynamic. So, but he involves me. You know, he's not a know-it-all. He has a plan. He tells me to trust him. I trust him. After it's said and done.
Why though? Why though? I mean, you've had a lot of trainers, right? What makes him different than everybody else?
Because I can see he's genuine.
Okay.
About who believes.
Yeah.
When he first met me, he told me how long he's been following me. He met me in like 2010 at the FIBO in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember that. He remembers it. He was there when I did my first Olympia. He seen me on stage. He's sitting there asking me what he thinks my best look was, because he's questioning whether we agree.
Yeah.
It's the first time I met him. He already had a plan laid out. He's excited. Obviously, he has vision. Another thing is he has good eyes, which is a key in bodybuilding. Good eyes, a lot of times, you can have a lot of head knowledge. You can be educated, but if you don't have vision, if you can't see what's going on, if you can't make the adjustments, if you can't if you can't visually, I guess, take a snapshot. I guess he has a photographic memory. I don't know. If you can't tell what's going on from one day to the other just by looking at me and reading my body, then I don't care how much you know. It's not gonna
teach that.
It's not gonna value.
Teach that.
So that's where his talent lies.
Got it. And what's special about the gym? Yeah, and you hear about the mirror and all this stuff here, but what is the biggest difference between Oxygen Gym and Gold's Gym, Venice, Santa Monica?
Man, it's just when somebody puts love into something, you can tell. When somebody puts passion into something, you can tell. When you put in an environment to where each piece of equipment is hand selected, he don't want the publicity of anybody copying him, so he removes all the labels off the pieces, so you don't even know who produced the equipment, because he wants everything to be uniform. He don't want to highlight any of those things. He wants to show this is his own idea. He's been on these pieces of equipment. He's felt it. He understands how it works. He puts it in the gym to provide the variations you need. So much complexity in the gym. So much you can get done. I mean, it's no way I can go in there and do the same workout every day. You'd be bored because you got so much to work with. 5-star gym, you got trainers on the floor. If I'm ever in there and need a spot, if I need somebody to go grab me some dumbbells, they'll grab me some dumbbells. 24-hour cleaning staff, those guys are cool. They help you. They take the weights off for you. They wipe everything down for you, whatever you need. They'll go get you some water if you want. I mean, they got the restaurant to serve all your needs downstairs. If I need to eat when I'm there, I can just go in there and get it. Massage therapy. If I need to relax in the sauna, zero cold tub, or the pool, whatever I need to do, all of it.
Yeah.
He's taking care of all the needs, and he cares about the place. He's renovating the one that we go to.
Yeah.
He's starting a renovation project. This gym is already complete. He's built 2 in Kuwait since, right? He's starting a renovation project to where he wants to expand the leg room, put the CrossFit room in the basement.
Yeah.
He don't have to do that. He's not gonna lose any members if he don't. He may not even make any more money just because he did. So it's just his love and his passion for it that, you know, I can agree with. It drives me.
You prefer working out there than Gold's? Is it a different kind of an environment, or is Gold's more history to you?
You know, if I work out with Goals, then I wouldn't want to necessarily be working out at Goals out of Charles. Now I had the opportunity to train at Goals recently, 2 weeks ago, but I trained with Charles and Dex. Charles, first time he's been wanting to train me for years.
Charles never trained you?
Never trained me. First time he's been wanting to for years, but asked me. But this first time I've been able to connect with Charles and train with him. And that'd be the dominant reason for me to train at Goals. Would be for not for the facility itself, but for who was there.
Got it.
And it's kind of similar with this. The facility itself is great, but who was there? The energies is there. The brotherhood is there. Everybody's there for one reason. We're trying to get better as bodybuilders, and we're trying to do it as a team.
You see Rami all the time. You see Winkler. Are they there?
I see Winkler on a regular basis. Rami, of course, is not there anymore. And when Rami was there, he had a little bit of a different schedule than we did.
Got it.
But Rolly, I see every day. We live on the same floor. You know, we're tight, man. We've been knowing each other for years. So
he's another guy that's loved by everybody.
Yeah, Rolly.
People like him a lot, man. I mean, he just seems like
he's a good guy, man.
Yeah.
He's a good fun-loving guy, man. He loves kids. He's like a big kid himself, you know. And
you can tell that when you see him. He won. Did he win 2018 Arnold Classic? He won 2017 or 20?
Last year he won Arnold Australia.
Arnold Australia.
Yeah.
Got it. Arnold Australia. Here, one of the things you say in your response to Dorian is, hell yeah, we may have more rely on technology or PED. How open are you about PED yourself?
Well, it's not something that I tend to. I'm not a person that educates people in that field because I don't have the background to educate people. Everything I know is through personal experience, and that may not be something that you can just, you know, you can't. I'm not like this guy or like that guy. So, and I'm not one of those guys that depended on that early. I didn't believe in that.
That's right. You and Ronnie were one of the guys that you guys naturally competed way past it.
Until being a pro was actually in my reach. You know, it was the next level. It wasn't necessary for me. It wasn't until it became a job. It wasn't necessary. So my thing for these young guys is, you got to come in and develop your physique completely, as much as you can without, because it's going to benefit you down the road. The more you come into the game and you want to bring complexity to it, it's not going to make it easier. It's going to make it more complicated because you're throwing in more variables, which means that your body has to deal with more variables, which means there's so many other things that can change.
Yeah.
So until you know the basis, the foundation of how to build muscle, how to burn fat, why are you going to overcomplicate this process, which is already complicated, and add another variable that changes the game dynamically, dramatically, you know? You shouldn't do that. You should learn your body, know that you know how to properly train, know that you know how to properly build muscle, know that you know how to properly incorporate nutrition before you need an advantage. There's no way you're going to need an advantage before you know how to do that, because if you do it the other way around, you're going to have to learn everything else over and over again once you hit that wall and you reach that level where those PEDs are not going to do anything for you anymore, except take more, which would make you more toxic and put you at more risk. So you're going to have to start all over again and try to learn it right because you learned it wrong. And that's what I tell a lot of guys, especially in certain areas, certain cultures, even in the Middle East, some of those guys, they think that's the first thing they got to do. Okay, I'm training now, what do I got to take? It's like, no, that's not the route you want to go. It's, you're training now, learn your body, learn how you respond. We're all a little bit different. Once you learn those things, then you can add a different dynamic that you can play with and complicate it even more. But and you're starting, there's no need to complicate this.
Do you see any need of doing it if you're not going to be competing professionally?
No,
you know what I'm saying, right?
No,
Like, what is the purpose of it?
I don't see a reason to, unless you aspire to go to a high level,
Right.
or unless you're doing it from some kind of anti-aging benefit, for your personal health.
Sure, absolutely.
But
yeah.
that's really the only reason. If it's not for competitive
Very
reasons.
logical reasoning you got there, because you know how sometimes they say you go to Kuwait because Kuwait's the place. Middle East has the best PED. They have the best drugs, way better than U.S. You hear that all the time. By the
It's
way.
not really true. It's not really true. It's not really true. Maybe there's certain leniencies that we don't experience in the U.S. But you get a mixed bag everywhere you go. Everybody, you gotta have people that you trust, or people that they can source you correctly. You don't, because it's fake bullcrap all
Everywhere,
over the world.
yeah. Yeah.
It's because there's money in it.
At the level, Dave Palumbo talked about the fact that, when you're going, if you go 12 weeks, you got to take 50% of it off. Whether you're 6 weeks off, 12 weeks on, 6 weeks off, 12 weeks off, on. When you're at the Mr. O level, can you even do that? Or at the Mr. O level, you got to be year-round to be able to compete at the highest level?
No, at the Mr. O level, it's going to depend on your competition schedule. If you compete multiple times a year, that's going to affect how much you got to be, prepared. But if you're not competing multiple times a year,
Right.
then you can give your body a break. You can schedule those things, and you can pay attention to your health. I mean, back in the day, they criticize us now for. I made that statement just because that's what they speculate. They speculate that we do because we got new things that a lot of people, like these SARMs and things. A lot of people think that's all the rage in bodybuilding for us, and it's not. Most bodybuilders I know on a professional level, we don't really fool a lot with SARMs. We may have tried to play with them, but we know that's not the basis. So that's the newer technology things that people talk about. But I know they competed a whole lot more than us back in the day. I mean, maybe not Dorian because he was Mr. Olympia, but all the other guys, they compete a whole lot more than us. So
Meaning they use more stuff than.
they competed a lot. Meaning
oh,
they competed
more tournaments per year.
more often.
I got it.
I don't.
Good point. So you mean you have to be on stuff regularly
Right,
throughout the year?
Like they talk about us like we don't compete enough anymore, but it's like because you're not trying to stress our bodies out. I've done that. I don't want to compete 9-8 shows a year.
I asked him, Reagan Grimes talked about the fact that, hey, when he was there was too much. He wanted to kind of get away from it, and then you're kind of seeing what he said about it. And
Well, it's when you, let's just put it this way. When you need a reason, you can find it. Doesn't make it necessarily true. But that's the reason you put there, and you put that out there, and that's the reason. And they got to take it as is. That may not be the real reason, to those that know, but people will accept that because that's what they want to believe.
Fair enough. What do you think about these guys that on YouTube that just go out and say, "This is my cycle. Here's what I did. Here's like maybe a Boston Lloyd. Hey, here's the stuff that I'm using. This is how you cycle." You think it's also good to go out there and kind of share your cycles on YouTube and encourage young people to get on? Because you're seeing a lot of it. Like even for myself, I'm seeing 16, 17, 18-year-olds start talking about, "Hey, I'd like to get on these cycles." What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's very responsible. Unless you're an expert in endocrinology and all this kind of stuff, unless you have the background to where you can protect these people, I don't think you should be just throwing out this little information as it can be followed. Because the bodybuilding, of course, and these PD stuff, it's not cookie cutter. What works for one person, just like any other drug, from any other companies, it may not work for you. Just because Viagra is supposed to give you an erection doesn't mean everybody that takes Viagra is going to get an erection. Somebody's going to get those side effects that they put on that commercial.
4 hours.
And somebody's not.
Yeah.
So you having these kids maybe unknowingly, with all the information out now, they shouldn't be unknowingly, to be honest.
So let me ask you, what book you recommend reading? If I know nothing about it, I don't want to use anything, but I'm thinking about I'm going to go be a bodybuilder. What book should I read to get more educated on PED, steroids, all these things?
One of the most complete guides that I've come across and I actually have is How to Be Your Own Bodybuilding Coach by Dr. Scott Stevenson, who is a very, very educated guy. But he's able to take very, very complex information and kind of break it down to where people can understand it and in its complexities. And he takes a very conservative, safe, health-conscious approach from his experience, even training, the diet, everything. He lays out. He even lays out the different differences, so you can have your options and variations. Because he knows everybody's not the same. As soon as you talk to Dr. Scott, he's going to be like, if he don't know something, he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know it. But he's going to say, okay, but in this scenario, maybe this is the case. But in this scenario, maybe this is the case. He understands the complexity of what we do in a sport, and he's a very educated man, and he's been around a long time, and he still competes. He's competed recently. I think he competed this year. He's on an amateur level, but he's very educated, and when you speak to him, he's going to give you a wealth of information.
Very interesting. I like that. We're going to put the link below. We're going to put the link below.
I like smart people, man, and I follow smart people, and he's one of those guys that I really, really respect his opinion. You know, along with a lot of other guys like such as John Meadows and Jordan Peterson. There's a lot of good resources out there.
Jordan Peterson. You dropped Jordan Peterson in this
No,
interview?
no, not the bodybuilding world.
Oh, a different Jordan Peterson.
From the UK.
You dropped Jordan
From
Peterson.
the UK, bro. From the UK. Not that guy. Not that guy.
I was gonna say
No.
we went to a whole different conversation.
I'm just saying.
here.
I'm just saying. For this modern age, these
Yeah.
guys, they don't have books, but
Yeah.
they have actual web subscription sites where you can watch videos, you can
I highly
content, forums,
recommend
all
that,
those
man.
kind
to
of
get
things.
educated before you make it. This is going to affect your health, and it's best to know what you're doing before. I have a friend of mine, math guy, man. Before he does anything, he bought one day I went and sat down with him. We're having lunch. He told me all of these things he got about steroids. Then he said, "I'm thinking about doing this." I'm like, okay. But I respect the fact that he read every paper from doctors, from this, and he pretty much gave a presentation. I said, good for you for taking that run. And he's always like that about everything he does. Last topic before we get into a couple things here. How's Flex doing? What's the, you know, obviously a lot of people in the bodybuilding world love Flex and admire him. How's his health?
Well, you know, I was with Flex 2 weeks ago at the memorial service of Franco Colombo, and we actually I sat right beside him during the service, and you know, I could tell something was weighing on him a little bit, but you know, he was there trying to enjoy everything at the moment, and I've been thinking about it ever since then, and then I hear this come out, and I was like, man, it's crazy. If it's not one thing, it's another for Flex, you know, and he happened to hit me up yesterday because he realized it was my birthday, and you know, he checked on me, he wished me happy birthday. I'm like, man, this guy. I'm thinking to myself, you know, I know he's probably being bombarded, you know, with people questioning what's going on, and he had the, you know, he had the nerve, the mindfulness to think about me once he figured out it was my birthday, wished me happy birthday, and you know, I just felt honored. But you know, I wish Flex nothing but the best. And I encourage everybody to go out there and support him in, you know, his recovery, because I know that's going to be, getting back to normalcy is going to be, you know, it's going to be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But I know he has the mindset for it. And he basically said, you know, he's born for this. This is what he's born for, and he's going to hopefully be able to inspire people, motivate people through his process. So
Much respect to him, man.
yeah,
much respect.
I mean,
to him.
it's Flex, man. It's one of the, you know, when you grow up looking up to guys like that, and then just admiring them and just thinking how incredible they are, and then they become your friends, and you know, you're able to you know communicate with them and be friendly with them. He calls me soul brother number one, by the way. And
That's cool.
it's just a crazy small world when those things happen. So, you know, it's an honor, and like I said, I wish, you know, hope nothing but the best for Flex and through this process, man. And I know he's dealing with it, but I know that same tenacity that he was able to be a champion with, he'll pull it out.
A lot of people are rooting for him, man. So what we're gonna do is we'll put the Instagram account below. Just go follow Flex and give him some love that you saw. The Brandon Curry, give him a shout out. It'd be good for him to hear from anybody saying Brandon gave him this kind of love. Top 5 favorite bodybuilders. Who's your top 5? I asked everybody. I'm curious to know what you're gonna say.
Man, that's good. I mean, Flex would have to be one of them. Of course, Ronnie, Lee Haney.
In any specific, like who's your at the top?
Now, well, let's put them all down and now sort
Okay,
of.
I got it. So Flex, Ronnie, Haney,
Phil Heath.
Phil Heath.
Let's see who else. Sergio Olivia.
Sergio Olivia.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay.
Is that?
That's 5. So you're not putting Arnold here.
Okay. Well, of course Arnold, but I'm thinking about,
Top 5.
yeah, of course, Arnold. Lee Haney would be on top for me.
Okay.
And then you got Ronnie.
Ronnie second.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely.
8'8".
Yeah, I know Ronnie. We got Arnold,
Okay.
Phil, Flex, Sergio.
Phil, Flex, Sergio. So Flex never won. You put him 5th.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Phil, Flex, Sergio. So
Yeah.
Haney, Ronnie, Arnold, Phil, Flex, Sergio.
And this has nothing to do with just physique only. Because, you know, I think Haney, he's just an epitome of what I think is, you know, a complete man in general, specimen, you know, example, you know, body, strength, you know, just the mentality he has, a businessman, whatever it may be. He's just something I could definitely emulate. Ronnie, you know, I've known Ronnie, and just the hardest working, coolest laid back dude, man. I mean, I love Ronnie, man. He's a great guy. And, you know, just to see his strength, man, it's incredible. I mean, I've been at the table with him eating breakfast knowing he's in pain, knowing he's uncomfortable. But, man, he'll never let you know it. He'll never. He's like, nope, I'm going to enjoy this just like everybody else. Like I'm not going through anything. Yeah. That's something that, man, you just can't make that.
That is so true.
You know?
Yeah, I can't wait for that. And by the way, you know, Yates also said that about Haney. Like Yates said, the guy that I saw was Haney because he was so disciplined and he ran his life, his marriage, everything. It was so. He's almost like the playbook to follow to have a good career here, Haney. Have we reached out to Haney yet or no? Maybe we got to reach out to. I don't think we have. We got to definitely reach out to Lee Haney.
You got to. He's a
yeah.
wealth,
So we'll definitely do that. We'll definitely do that. Last thing here, I'm going to give you a name. Tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. One word that comes to your mind. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Legacy.
Joe Weider.
Empire.
Phil Heath.
Attitude.
Wow. Dorian Yates.
Tenacious.
Abdullah Al-Otaibi.
Tenacious.
Tenacious as well. I didn't put them in the same level. Ronnie Coleman.
Whoa. Yeet. It represents Ronnie right there. Fun, having fun always.
Hadi Chopin.
Incredible bodybuilder.
Very cool. I'm from Iran. He's from Iran. I mean,
very polished, very good bodybuilder. You can tell he's studied the sport, definitely.
You think he's got a career, like meaning he's going to keep climbing?
Man, if he can keep coming back, yeah, he's definitely set a precedent and a stage. He's very polished, Mike. You got to be on your A game when you're on stage with Hadi, because Hadi understands the advantages of the game. He knows how to play the stage game. A lot of those guys wasn't aware of Hadi in that way. They didn't study him, but fortunately I did. But yeah, he's a very good bodybuilder.
Sergio Olivier.
Sergio Olivier is the myth. Man, it's just it's a complex. See, I know his son, and his son talks about him from a personal level. I just know I know too much. So yeah, it kind of ruins it for me.
Cool. Lee Haney.
Lee Haney, example.
Okay. Rolly,
man, big kid, my brother.
Dexter.
OG.
And
greatest of all time. One of the greatest of all time.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Because one of the winners of all time, man. He's one of the most consistent bodybuilders ever.
And I give you the last one, Brandy.
Phew. Man, I say Brandy was like a breath of fresh air when I met her. She's been like, they said, the rib, she's definitely somewhere supporting me all the time, close to me all the time. I wouldn't be able to do this without her because she helps me navigate through this world, through the business side of it, through the communication. You know, she's definitely by my side, and I need her. And I value what she does for me because I allow her to be strong where she is. So, I mean, like, you wouldn't believe this, but well, maybe you would. If you heard my story, you would know. You know, I was at a point in my life as a high schooler where I was kind of trying to be that playboy, and I had the audacity to say to challenge God in a way to say, if you don't want me to do this because I was feeling wrong about it, then show me who my wife is. Well, he showed me Brandy, and I met her soon after that in high school, and it took us 7 years from there to kind of get married. But yeah, it happened. So be careful
There you go. Yeah, you got to be careful when you're asking for that, because she just may show up out of nowhere.
Hey, bro, she that's the only time my mom, when I told my mom about it, she was like, "What?" She said, "What are you telling me this?" Because the only time I'm not a mama's boy, but when I came and told her that, she was like, "What?" She remembered it. She remembered it probably better than I did at the time. She's the one that told my wife about it. I didn't even tell her. After we got married, she was like, "Yeah, you know, I knew you were gonna get married to him." Like everybody knew around me anyway.
That's cool though. That's good to, that's great to hear that, when I see the two of you guys together, you can see the chemistry between the two. It's really unique when you see it. Final thoughts here for you. I know 2020, you've made it very clear you're excited about next year, crushing it and competing and going for 2-time. And I know you're about to open up a gym you got coming up in 2020. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, Carbon Culture is a new project we're working on. It's a bodybuilders gym, true athletes gym, strength gym. You have the motto of, we just come here to trying to get our fitness on. Now we come here to get results. We come here to work hard. So you have trainers on site there to work with you, whether your strength, whether your bodybuilding physique, whether you're just the average person. We'll have a glute section for the ladies that you just want to come in and just trash the glutes and not have everybody gawking over them. We even have a posing room or a progress room, as some people call it. So, the trainers can go in and assess. It'll be Arsenal outfitted with all the latest Arsenal equipment. And we just want people to come in and be able to get it done. Our bar is going to be crazy. You'll be able to do your own formulations at the bar. But we'll talk about that later.
That's cool.
Yeah, so,
that's really cool.
So if you want to experiment with different things, we'll have clinical doses of different supplements, and you can be able to mix and match the way you want in the doses that you want. So.
And where's the first one going to be?
The first one is going to be in Franklin, Tennessee.
Okay.
We look to open up one in Nashville as well. And,
Franklin, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Man, I used to date a girl from Franklin, Tennessee.
Oh.
In the Army. When I was in the Army, we used to go party in Nashville.
Oh.
I asked you earlier if you partied in the Nashville scene. You said not really. So when I talked about Mix Factory, you said you remember Mix Factory.
I had a short stint of partying before it got old. Yes, in Nashville, we used to go down there. Mix Factory was one of those places. One of those strange places in Nashville.
Strange places. Did you go to any other stranger places like a Connections, or no? Was it just
the Connections? I don't know if I went to Connections when it was Connections. They used to have that NASCAR cafe down there that turned into a club. It was two different names. There was another place up there called the Underground. It was some places.
Some crazy clubs over there. Let me tell you. I mean, I'm from LA and I've gone to nice clubs, but Nashville was very weird.
It's even crazier, I think, now. It's more of a party town now than it was back then, I think.
Yeah.
So.
One time they took me to a club, Silverado.
Silverados, yeah.
Remember Silverado?
Silverados.
And I was line dancing. I'm like a Middle Eastern from Iran. And they had the hard body contest. You'd go there at Silverados, but it was a different audience than the other places. But anyways, man, hey, first of all, much respect to you for coming out, man, and sitting here and being willing to talk about all these different issues. I really enjoyed this conversation. Felt like a 5-minute conversation. We went through a lot of things. And I'm looking forward to you having an incredible year going into 2020. And a lot of the projections you made with folks wanting to come compete to make the brand big again. And I hope Mr. Olympia brand listen to some of these ideas, and maybe they'll process some of it and come back and say, we got to do something with this. So
hopefully, we can always, change things through communication. And so hopefully this creates more communication and it'll work out in the favor for everybody.
Look forward to it, man. My man, thanks for coming out, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. So a couple things. If you're enjoying these Mr. Olympia interviews we're doing, whether it's Phil Heath and Dorian Yates or now Brandon Curry, let us know who else you want to see by commenting below or send me a tweet directly. And my handle is Patrick David. And you can tag anybody else you want to see because I'll get that directly. And on top of that, I got 2 other interviews I want you to watch. One is what prompted this interview is with Dorian Yates, which is a jam-packed interview with a lot of topics we covered. Or my first sit down with Phil Heath, where we talked about the future of Mr. Olympia brand. If you want to see Dorian Yates, click here. If you want to see Phil Heath, click here. And regardless, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.